I am here today with Dr. Rachel Rubin, the founder of Spark Admissions. So, Rachel, thanks so much for being here with us. What would you suggest in this world of tremendous tension and stress for both parents and kids? How do we reduce that anxiety?
College admissions is stressful even in normal times. And with the added weight of everything that's going on in the world right now, it's even more so. So my advice is, firstly, I think the most important thing is that students and parents need to stop feeding off of one another's stress. Students are stressed about choosing a college, about paying for college, about going off to college, leaving their friends, and the general work and pressure of school, along with pressures of simply being a teenager today. But they're also really stressed about disappointing their parents. And that's something that I think a lot of parents don't initially realize. When I see students push back or fight about college stuff with their parents, it's really often because they're so worried that they won't live up to their parents' expectations or that their parents will be disappointed in them. And so I think kind of just even keeping that in mind and keeping it in check will be really helpful. We don't want to kind of carry our stress onto our children. That's the last thing they need right now. The more the parents can really reassure their kids that they'll be happy at a variety of different colleges and universities, that's going to take stress off of both of them. Not just reassuring your kids that, but also really kind of taking it to heart.
So one of the things that I've heard is that parents set up a once a week and there's no, like, they agree with their kids. There's no talking about college with their kids in between that. And the kids are so relieved.
I absolutely encourage that. And I think it's a place where both people, the parents and the kids can write down kind of their concerns and their thoughts and whatnot, and kind of add on to that list each week. And then when they have that meeting, they can really both share their opinions in what's hopefully a really non-judgmental way that is ultimately talking about what is the best thing for your student, for the child, in terms of fit for college, and also in terms of really reasonable goals and expectations. And ideally, as these discussions continue, there will be a much clearer alignment between the goals of the parents and the goals of the students.
There's so much emphasis on getting your kids involved in extracurriculars and being devoted to something enough that you rise kind of in the leadership position. Yeah. And so does every kid applying to college have to be a leader?
That is a really wonderful question. I was actually just talking to one of my admissions officer's friends the other day, and he was joking that if we only accepted leaders, all of the clubs on campus would only have one person in them, right? So his larger point was really that while they love to see students be engaged, what matters most is the spirit of collaboration and community, and really of pitching in for the larger whole. I have some students where leadership comes really easily and they want to be the leader of everything, and others who just really don't feel comfortable in that level and would much rather spend their time doing research or helping the homeless or doing a lot of other things. We can't force people to be who they're not. At the same time, colleges really appreciate students who go above and beyond in whatever they care about most. So maybe your child really loves to read and that's their favorite thing. And they're one of those types of people who actually knows a huge amount about a variety of issues. But how do you kind of show that in terms of your resume? Well, I do think colleges in some way want to see that students are passionate about things. So perhaps they could just found a book club where other introverts can get together and talk about literature. Or they can start a book club for the younger generation, for middle schoolers, to help them kind of get really excited about literature. So it's not kind of, and even if they start the book club, there can be somebody else leading it each week. And that really kind of indicates to colleges that you are a proactive person, but you don't necessarily need to be standing there in front of 30 other people as the editor-in-chief or the student body president. What matters is not necessarily your title or that you get to be kind of the boss, but really colleges want to see that you're engaged with your school or local community, that you take responsibility, and that you care about bringing peers together in a collaborative manner. and ideally that you learn something about yourself as a result. So I would say that leadership is important, but it can come in a huge variety of forms. And it certainly does not in any way need to show that you are the leader of 5 different clubs at school. But it's really, really about being authentic to yourself and developing a story. That is what colleges care about the most, a story about who you are and describing that well in your essays.
So Paula wants to know, where do we start? From research at home or by consulting someone like you?
Oh, that's a great question, Paula. So I would say it really depends on your relationship with your child. If it's a really positive relationship right now and you both have a lot of respect and for one another and there's not kind of judgmental tension, then I would definitely try to start on your own to have some of these important conversations. I think it can actually bring families much closer and you can develop increased respect for one another. But it also depends on sort of your comfort level with this material, as well as the time that you have. It takes a considerable amount of time to do this all on your own. And so if you feel like actually this is a way that I could really kind of use my financial resources to help myself and to help my kids by moving this to a third party, then I would say start with a consultant. But it also depends on sort of where your child and you are relative to the college timeline. If you're just starting to have these conversations and your child is a junior and college admissions is really important to you, I would say it might make sense to actually get started with a consultant. At the same time, if you feel like your child is a sophomore and you want to begin work together to build those great relationships and to really understand each other's goals and bring in someone later, then that's a great decision for your family too.
Okay, so here are the 2 questions I want to ask. They're both the same question, but one is targeting parents of 10th graders and one is parents of 11th graders. What are the first 3 things they should be doing after this call to ease their anxiety and also move things forward for the college admissions process?
So the first thing is I would choose which academic area your child thinks they like the most right now and try to do a bunch of activities both in the summer and extracurricularly, and also ideally as a volunteer activity around that academic area. That's really going to help build your child's story and allow them to appear kind of unique and really interesting when writing their applications. So 10th grade is the best time to start that. The second thing I would do is find really meaningful extracurricular opportunities. Maybe your child does have 10 different activities right now, but they actually only like 5 of them. Let's just take away the other 5, right? We don't need our young people to be more stressed than they already are, particularly doing things that they don't enjoy just because they think maybe colleges want to see them. They really want to see students that care about the community. So if they're not doing so already, I would really strongly urge you to help your student, your child, get involved with a great community service activity where they can really give back and learn a lot about themselves. And then the third thing I would say is to start to think about what you care about most in terms of leadership. You do not have to be a leader in everything by any means whatsoever. And even if you are an introvert and prefer being on the sidelines, there are still ways to develop leadership. And I would try to pick 1 to 3 things where you can really show your passion for that area and demonstrate that you can bring people together collaboratively and that you can show what you've learned by taking on those leadership experiences.
Okay, so let's move into 11th grade. You've got an 11th grader.
So the first one is to build on that academic narrative that I talked about for 10th grade. If you haven't done that yet or don't have one, let's start it right now and build upon it. And ideally your extracurriculars, your volunteering, and your summer plans would align with it. So that kind of goes into the next thing, which is really to make an amazing summer plan. Colleges love to see what students do the summer before 12th grade because they feel like that is a great opportunity to learn what students care about the most and the way that they might want to spend their time actually in college. And then lastly, I would start to do virtual college visits and virtual tours, information sessions, excuse me, talk to students who are at the colleges where you think you might want to apply, and create a really balanced list of schools that you and your child would be really excited for them to attend. I think that having that list by the end of junior year takes an enormous amount of the stress off and really allows your child to be able to work on their applications the summer before senior year, which is what I highly, highly recommend as one of their main activities over the summer, is to do the bulk of their applications during the summer. Because the idea of doing them during the beginning of senior year, when they're also most likely taking their most rigorous college classes, they're in a bunch of extracurricular activities, that's literally a kind of a recipe for stress. And it's an unnecessary recipe. Like, we can take the stress part out of there by doing the bulk of the work over the summer.
So Dr. Rachel Rubin, founder of Sparks Admissions, thank you so much for being here with us. Thanks so much.